A seemingly routine December morning would quickly turn into the worst day of a young Detroit father's life and would notably become one of the worst carjackings to ever occur. The story the prosecutors came up with will leave you torn between what they assume happened and what the defendant is claiming to have happened. This is the story of DeAndre Lane and Bianca Jones. "32-year-old Detroit, Michigan native DeAndre Lane and his ex-girlfriend, and mother of his youngest daughter, Bianca, decided that their 2-year-old daughter, Bianca, would come and live with him so that Bianca could take advantage of a new job opportunity. Bianca and DeAndre, better known as Dre, had split sometime after the birth of their daughter due to infidelity in their relationship. Dre was considered a ladies' man and had cheated on Bianca numerous times. At 6'3", around 200 pounds, many would say he was a very attractive man and never had an issue attracting beautiful women, and as a result had 7 children by 7 different women. However, since their relationship ended, Dre seemed to have changed his ways, as he was now engaged to the mother of one of his other children, Angelique. It seemed he was improving other areas of his life as well. Though Dre had a long rap sheet consisting of convictions ranging from assault, armed robbery, possession of drugs and firearms, and previously spending more than 3 years in prison, he was currently enrolled in school studying real estate. Aside from his past indiscretions, Bianca felt that Dre was really trying to get his life on track and was nevertheless an amazing father to Bianca and could rely on him to take good care of her. In fact, all of the mothers of his children would say that Dre was a very active and amazing father to all of his kids. The first few weeks of Bianca's new living arrangement with her father went well and was uneventful. He would bring Bianca along with him as he took his older children back and forth to school, as well as when he ran various errands throughout the day. Bianca had become a part of he and Angelique's daily routine. Though things seemed to be going smoothly and life was moving in a positive direction for Dre, an event that is every parent's worst nightmare would soon take place and would change his life forever. In December of 2011, Dre, Angelique, and their children were at home enjoying family time together when Dre had discovered that Bianca, who had been napping, wet the bed. Bianca was being potty trained at the time and was expected by her father to use the toilet anytime she had to use the restroom. As a form of punishment, Dre spanked Bianca with a homemade paddle that he made, constructed of a stick that was padded and wrapped with black duct tape. He reminded Bianca once again that she was supposed to use the toilet, and she was then instructed to stay in her room for the remainder of the night. The next morning, December 2nd, was a fairly routine one for the Lane household. The older children were getting ready for school, and Dre was getting Bianca dressed as she would be riding with him to drop them off as she always did. As Dre's nephew Trevion and one of his daughters climbed into the car, Dre put on Bianca's coat, zipped it up, put her in her car seat, and covered her with a blanket as she had fallen back asleep. He then pulled the car out of the driveway. After dropping the older kids off at school, Dre had arranged previously with Bianca, Bianca's mother, to stop by Bianca's house that morning to pick up some more clothing for their daughter. So, as planned, he headed to Bianca's home. En route, Dre suddenly notices a red sedan behind him frantically honking their horn. Looking through the rearview mirror, he sees and hears 2 men yelling and waving their hands out of their respective windows. As they approached a red light, the man in the driver's seat sticks his head completely out of the window, yelling to Dre that his taillights were out. Though a bit confused and reluctant, Dre pulls over to the side of the road, puts his car in park, and gets out of his car to check if, in fact, his taillights had gone out. Simultaneously, the 2 men pull over and park behind Dre's car. One of the men exits the vehicle, flashes a gun, and instructs him to get away from the car. Dre begins to beg and plead to let him at least take his daughter out first, but without hesitation, the man then hops into the driver's seat of Dre's car and speeds off, with little Bianca still strapped into her car seat. Dre then begins to chase after the car as it speeds down the street, trying his best to possibly get a good enough grip on the vehicle to hang on long enough to try to deter the carjacker. But unfortunately, he just couldn't keep up and quickly loses sight of the speeding car. As Dre stood in the middle of the road, A sense of fear and dread came over him as he realized he had just been carjacked and his 2-year-old daughter kidnapped. The carjacking occurred not too far from Dre's destination, Bonica's house, so his first instinct was to head there for help. When he arrived, Bianca's grandmother Lilia, Uncle Jerry, and his girlfriend Mary immediately noticed that something was wrong. Dre was hysterical, hyperventilating, and incoherent, unable to describe what just happened. Mary then called 911.
Hi, my name is Mary, and my niece was just stolen in a vehicle, and her father is really upset. Somebody must have hijacked him or something, and my niece is in the car.
Did they use a weapon on him?
She was not really talking to me. You have to talk to me, sweetie. You have to talk to me. I can't help you if you don't talk to me. What kind of car is this? She still needs to know what kind of vehicle so they can start looking for it. Dre, come on, sweetheart. Come on. You have to tell me what kind of vehicle it is. Did they have a weapon? Yes.
When the police arrive, Dre is calm enough to tell the officers what just happened to him and baby Bianca. The Detroit Police Department quickly find Dre's vehicle roughly 1 mile from where the crime took place, with the doors open and the engine running. Sadly, Bianca was not in her car seat. In the meantime, Bianca's mother is notified and word travels across the city, and this carjacking turned kidnapping creates an uproar in the city of Detroit, leading to a neighborhood search conducted by family members, friends, and volunteers. Dre had been brought down to the Detroit police station for further questioning and interrogated for hours, as the police started to suspect that Dre had something to do with Bianca's disappearance.
We're going to start at the truth. The carjacking didn't occur. You bought that car there and walked away. For the next 24 hours, and the thing that you said has not been verified one bit. We believe you. Yeah, we did. Until the case was investigated, and we're like, wait a minute.
Most carjackers, when they found the baby in the car, they would take the baby out. They would take the baby out, we got the car and run.
During this time, the police discover that Dre has an outstanding warrant for violating a protective order taken out against him by his ex-wife, so was then taken into custody. After further investigation and speaking with various family members that had recent contact with Dre and Bianca, the police had concluded that Bianca was not taken during the carjacking. In fact, they did not believe that the carjacking ever occurred. They instead insisted that the day before, when Dre discovered his 2-year-old daughter wet the bed, he beat her to death with his homemade paddling stick. He then left her in her bedroom for the remainder of the day. They believed that he placed Bianca's dead body in her car seat and covered her with a blanket and told his nephew and daughter that she was covered up because she was still sleeping. After taking them off at school, he then disposed of Bianca's body in a dumpster. To back up this theory, the police department gave Dre a lie detector test, which he failed. They spoke with a witness and friend of Dre's, Rico, who says he saw Dre the morning of the incident, and Bianca was not in the vehicle. The police used cell phone records to retrace Dre's steps that fateful morning and discovered he spent 17 minutes east of Woodward Avenue unaccounted for, where there were various dumpsters, in which they believe is where he was dumping her body. Unfortunately, by the time this was discovered, the trash had already been picked up in the area. Despite being accused of beating his daughter to death, Dre publicly proclaims his innocence.
It had nothing to do with my daughter's disappearance. I would never harm my children. My children are my life. It's not anything that would hurt them or anything like that. It's basically just to get their attention, you're not supposed to be doing that, Pop. You know what I'm saying? Don't do that no more. They're trying to make all this stuff out to be more than what it is. I don't have belts and just, I'm trying to discipline them. I don't want to hurt them in any kind of way.
His eldest son, DeAndre Jr., even speaks out and defends his father's innocence.
Everybody got negative opinions, about my dad, man. Like I said, they don't know him like I do. Ain't nobody tell me nothing about my father. He not gonna harm none of his children, especially over discipline, He disciplined all us in the right way.
During his trial, Dre's 8-year-old daughter took the stand, recalling various incidents in which she too was punished for wetting the bed. She said that he would hit her with the homemade paddle that he used to hit Bianca, and once he even held her urine-soaked underwear to her face and stuffed them in her mouth with such force that he caused the underside of her tongue to bleed. She also recalled a few days prior to Bianca's disappearance, where her dad hit 2-year-old Bianca with the same paddle because she wouldn't answer the questions he was asking her. The determining factor in Dre's arrest was a European dog handler named Martin Grime that was hired by the police department that flew into Detroit with a cadaver dog to inspect the crime scene. The dog had detected decomposition in 5 different places: the back seat, Bianca's car seat, her blanket, her bed, and the trunk of the car. Dre was ultimately charged with felony murder and first-degree child abuse. During his hearing, Bianca, Bianca's mother, testified that she did not believe Dre had anything to do with their daughter's disappearance.
They asked me if I thought he might have had something to do with it.
And you don't, do you?
No, I don't.
In fact, you still support DeAndre, don't you?
Absolutely.
And you believe that your child is alive and still missing, correct?
Absolutely. My daughter's out there. She's out there.
Despite no physical evidence nor ever finding Bianca's body, Dre was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. As of today, baby Bianca has never been found. Interestingly enough, there have been a few recorded accounts of sightings of the missing little girl since her disappearance. Nikki Gibbs, now a retired Detroit police officer, was on patrol a week after the disappearance of Bianca, and she claims she saw her at a house that she was called out to investigate a disturbance.
As we were in the course of just speaking random, this baby comes out of the room. She had cornrows, French braids, and they were pulled in 2 ponytails with beads on it. And she came out like this, like she was crying.
The next day down at the station, Gibbs notices a missing poster with Bianca's photo on it. She said though she mentioned this incident to detectives, she didn't take any official action as she felt homicide officials had already decided the father had killed Bianca. Someone else reported seeing Bianca dressed as a little boy with shaved eyebrows at this same home. It was later discovered the owner of this house was related to Bianca. However, after further investigation, the police were not able to uncover any leads regarding Bianca's disappearance. An anonymous caller contacted the police stating that they saw Bianca playing outside of Bianca's home. Bianca had this to say.
I wish I would have been there. If she was really there, I wish I had been there. Because I have not seen my daughter since her birthday. And I don't know what happened to her.
Dre's defense team also believes that Bianca is still alive, however, has an interesting theory regarding her disappearance. They believe Bianca has framed Dre to get back at him for how he treated her in the past. They suspect that she is alive and well and is being hidden somewhere by her mother. It was discovered during the investigation that Dre's fiancée at the time of the disappearance, Angeli, was pregnant by Dre at the same time Bianca was pregnant with Bianca. Angeli even reported that she allowed Bianca to have threesomes with her and Dre a few times prior to their engagement, and noticed how angry Bianca had become once they decided to make their relationship monogamous. Dre had this to say.
I don't want to believe that because I would want to think that, the person who I loved, who I had a child with, who, I've known for these years would want to do something to hurt me like that.
DeAndre Lane is still incarcerated for the murder of Bianca Jones and is serving a life sentence. I'm curious to know what you guys think. Do you believe DeAndre's carjacking story? Or is it possible he really may have taken Bianca's spanking a bit too far and accidentally hurt her? Did Dre hurt Bianca so much that she felt she needed to seek revenge? Let's talk about it in the comments below.